a couple of minutes for any late attendees, so please do hold on and we'll get started shortly. Well, Carl, do you want to come on camera?
Good afternoon all.
Afternoon.
Right, thank you very much, Richard. Yeah, if you can start recording, I think we'll get started. So hello again, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on enhancing the student experience with Performant online systems. Next slide, please, Shaheen. Right. Oops. Very much. So just a quick introduction from me. So I'm Faz Ahmed. I'm the business development manager within Prolifics Testing and also the go-to market owner for the HE sector. I've been with Prolifics for 7 years now, but for my sins, I've been within testing for over 20 years. Not only do I manage the relationships with our university clients, but also I manage our partnerships as well. So we work with Tribal, Lucian and CourseLoop to help them test their implementations. Next slide, please. Right, in terms of agenda, we've got quite an action-packed agenda today, so I hope you enjoy the session that we've got planned for you. I'll begin by giving you a very short introduction to Prolifics Testing and the work that we've been doing within the HE sector. I'll also talk through some of the reasons why performance testing is important on projects. And then I'll hand over to Carl from the University of Kent, and he'll share a talk around Kent Vision's BAU transition and clearing challenges and how they benefited from performance testing. And then Jason from the University of Portsmouth will be up next to talk through how performance testing enhanced their student experience. Finally, we've got Pradeep from the Prolifics testing team. He's one of our performance architects, and he'll share some tips on how each of you can undertake performance testing on your university projects. Now, there'll be some time set aside at the end for a Q&A session, so please do ask questions as we go along, and we'll try and get them answered during the session, and if not, we'll definitely get round to them at the end. Brilliant. So, Shaheen, yeah, if you could pull up the next slide, please. So, we here at Prolifics Testing consider ourselves to be kind of HE sector specialists. And by that, we mean we've been working within the HE sector for over 17 years now. And we've worked with 66 universities across the UK, the US, Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia as well. Our experience spans across testing of applications that are used across universities. So everything from partnering with Tribal and Lucian on their student management systems, as well as testing back-end finance and CRM systems and learning management and attendance monitoring applications, some of which are listed there on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. So yeah, apologies for the rather crowded slide, but this shows some of the clients that we've worked with within the university sector. I think Jason and Carl are looking for their logos there as well. And we work across, you know, some of the large Russell Group universities through to some of the smaller private for-profit teaching universities, and also US-based Ivy League schools too. Next slide, please, Shaheen. So when I speak to university customers, I often get asked the question, why is performance testing important? And the answer really is simple. It's all about user experience. In a time when universities are moving their services online and creating multiple digital touch points, we need to ensure students, staff, and partners can get access to the information they need. At Prolifix, we've worked with over 40 universities on their digital performance. We test everything from telephony systems in preparation for clearing period, or student management systems when universities are preparing for enrolments, admissions, module registration, and results release, through to learning management systems to ensure that students can undertake assessments. In our experience, we find universities who have suffered from performance issues in the past tend to invest more in performance testing. Some do this in-house and others use specialists like us. Either way, the aim of performance testing is simple. It's to use automated tools to simulate high traffic to see if a digital platform can support the number of users it should be able to, and also ensure end user experience is within acceptable levels. And it's not all about risk mitigation with performance testing. Universities and cloud vendors often use us to help size and configure cloud environments to reduce redundant capacity and to get the right balance of minimized costs with maximized user experience. Now, today we'll be hearing from two of our customers who've embraced performance testing to share their experiences and hopefully give you some ideas on what you can do in your institutions. Now, I'm going to hand over to Carl from the University of Kent. Carl, over to you.
Thank you very much, Faz. I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. As Faz said, my name is Carl Swaffer. I've worked at the University of Kent for 24 years, initially as a developer, and then later also as a DBA and systems admin on our in-house developed student data system, which was an ingress system. I spent 2 years working on the project to migrate from this system to a new on-prem Tribal SITS platform. I then spent nearly 5 years managing our Windows and SQL Server estate, including SITS, and the last 4 years leading the team as corporate systems manager, with a much expanded remit, including our library, research services, academic repositories, commercial services, and estate systems. So just a little bit of background, starting with the details of a problematic 10-year project. In the late 2000s, there was an appetite to move away from our in-house developed student data system, as the technology was fast becoming out of date. A third-party company was engaged to develop a new system, but this unfortunately was a failure in every sense, resulting in the partnership being dissolved early in the project. As a result, when engaging with Tribal in 2011, there was a more cautious approach with initial development of the admissions and clearing system only. It was only after the success of that project that the university took the decision to commit the whole student lifecycle to SITS in 2014. Although the original project intention was to go out of the box, complex business requirements inevitably led to a heavily customized system, which caused the project to be beset with problems and extended several times. Heavy pressure on development. Go live eventually took place in April 2021, but even after all this time, this was a soft launch with much functionality still under development. With the extended project delays and changing landscape in the HE sector over the last few years, finances were stretched and the university had undergone several restructures leading to further project reviews and scope creep. The budget overspend and requirement for urgent delivery of functionality inevitably produced a, quote, development first culture with much pressure on development teams for delivery. As such, areas such as data archiving and retention, optimization and performance had not received the attention they required due to a lack of resource and ever-tightening delivery deadlines. Prior to 2021, the SITS system was only used for clearing and admissions, so was, on the whole, performing within capacity with few issues. As part of due diligence in our clearing preparations, annual load testing took place in-house using a combination of JMeter scripts and admissions staff volunteers to reproduce clearing day expected load. Overall, this testing was sufficient and clearing generally passed off successfully from a technical perspective. Clearing 2021 success. Despite the launch of Kent Vision, that's the local name for our SIT system, 2021 clearing was successful with no major issues. Much of this was due to the lack of more resource-intensive functionality, which at that point was still under development. The usual in-house load testing of the admissions and clearing functionality did not reveal any issues. We were, however, in new territory, as prior to 2021, clearing and admissions were on separate systems to our main student record system. Clearing 2022, major incident. As per the previous year, the admissions and clearing load testing was successful and confidence was high heading into clearing day. However, during the previous 12 months, several pieces of major functionality had been deployed for which we did not have resource to adequately load test. Alongside this, some unexpected scheduling of exam boards and a major issue with the quick student lookup functionality caused Kent Vision to almost grind to a halt on clearing day. By late afternoon on clearing day, though, a major incident had been called with urgent mitigation implemented, such as adding extra RAM and CPU resource to our production servers, moving VMs around on the various stacks to reduce resource conflict, as well as disabling all non-admissions and clearing related functionality in Kent Vision. To the credit of the IT teams, this was all performed hot and their work prevented a major outage, and our system remained open throughout the entire clearing lifecycle. We had managed to keep the lights on and get through a successful clearing round by the skin of our teeth. We dodged a bullet, but it did serve as a major wake-up call. So actions and issues, resulting project to identify underlying causes. As a result of the major incident, an urgent project was spun up, for which I was assigned as project manager for my sins, to investigate the underlying causes and identify urgent specific mitigation actions. The resulting project report highlighted a number of complex issues, but a clear plan of actions was drawn up, including reaching out to third parties to collaborate on full system load testing. The mitigation work was fairly substantial and took almost a year to complete. User confidence in Kent Vision. By this point, the recent major incident had caused user confidence in Kent Vision to reach a new low point. So restoring this confidence was a key aim of the mitigation actions. The long-running and expensive project, along with much delayed business-critical functionality and intermittent poor performance, had already had the effect of causing a fair amount of user negativity towards Kent Vision, and this was the proverbial straw. Existing in-house experience. It had quickly become clear that the current load testing strategy was no longer fit for purpose, with the increased functionality of the Kent Vision system now that it had served the entire student lifecycle with increasingly complex and resource-intensive processes and integrations. Although we had some previous load testing experience, it became clear that we needed specialist assistance, not only to advise, but to assist in a relatively short timescale, as time and resource were not commodities freely available at Kent. Lack of internal capacity. Tight timescales, conflicting priorities, and increasing lack of available resource due to staffing levels meant that an alternative had to be sought as soon as possible. Identification of a potential external partner. After some initial research as part of the project, we initially approached Prolifics, who were recommended as SITS load testing specialists in September 2022, resulting in an initial discovery meeting in November of that year. So moving on to load testing activities and benefits. First, identifying key areas of potential performance impacts. Preparing for our initial load testing round was a major undertaking, as we identified the main areas of functionality to be tested based on expected usage, timings, and estimated load during the clearing period. Since this was our first collaboration, We also had to complete appropriate documentation, contracts, statements of works, statutory liabilities such as DPIA, data processing agreements, etc., as well as configuring our infrastructure to allow temporary external access through our security layers to our load testing environment. Much of this configuration work has now been documented and scripted, effectively reducing the workload to prepare for subsequent load testing in future. Test script development. Having identified key areas to be tested, the load testing consultants were then able to develop their scripts. Given our tight resources, it is unlikely we'd have been able to develop and turn around the test scripts in anywhere near the time they took to be ready for testing. In fact, less than 2 weeks. Coordinated testing. When it came to the actual load testing, we were able to prepare the test environment so that testing would be as smooth as possible. For example, various test data and dummy user accounts set up and database restore point backups taken. With dedicated Microsoft Teams channels set up, we were also able to monitor and communicate quickly in real time as testing took place and jump on the occasional issue quickly as required. Although a full final test report was an agreed part of the package of work, we received regular interim updates after each test had completed, so we're able to measure progress quickly. Second round of testing. Following successful completion of the initial load testing in April 23, we were reassured that the mitigations so far deployed on our Kent Vision system were having a positive effect. However, before clearing in August, we needed to apply a raft of patches to bring our system as up to date as possible. As such, we had already scheduled a second round of testing to ensure there will be no unexpected surprises as a result of the patching. Given the groundwork from the initial testing round, we were able to prepare much more quickly this time, although due to further late security patches released by Tribal, we were put in a somewhat difficult position of having to weigh up the risks of further patches against laying the load testing. We were, however, at the end of the day, able to complete both patching and testing in time and ultimately had a very successful clearing round. Early identification of potential areas of concern. Upon completion of testing, the final report, along with any recommendations, was received within a week. This would have enabled us to move quickly in the event of serious issues being uncovered. Fortunately, as it happened, none were. Accurate scaling. All load testing was carried out on our pre-production environment. This is a mirror of our production environment, duplicating exactly the number of servers and resources. For those familiar with SITS, our production environment consists of 17 servers, including a 3-node always-on SQL database cluster, dedicated web and app servers, plus dedicated client, batch, and StuTalk integration servers. As such, we were able to not only test scenarios up to our expected load, but also to run further destruction testing to see how far we could push the system before serious errors started creeping in. This gave us some reassurance as to the capacity and overhead of our system and confidence that we could handle more than the expected online traffic. Collaboration and networking. Working with Prolifics was a positive experience as it enabled us to benefit from their experience and expertise in this area. Load testing on this scale had not previously been undertaken at this institution on the Kent Vision system, but this experience enabled us to obtain some useful metrics on performance and identify key areas for improvement, as well as further insights into their testing methodology. Mitigation against risks of institutional, financial and reputational damage during clearing. As many as you know, clearing day, when the A-level results are released, is a critical date in the academic calendar with potentially serious financial consequences if it goes badly. Furthermore, the applicant experience is paramount for the institution's reputation, even more so nowadays with experiences being shared so readily on social media platforms. Collaboration on this scale has been crucial to ensuring we have carried out as much preparation work and due diligence as possible to be ready. So where are we now? Following the completion of load testing, we had a very successful clearing round in 2023 from a technical perspective. Given the success of 2023, we subsequently undertook similar load testing rounds with Prolifics this year, following our double upgrade from SITS version 10.4 to 10.6 in January. Redefining our clearing day strategy. The outcomes from 2023 have prompted other non-technical mitigations to protect clearing, such as ensuring non-clearing related activities requiring Kent Vision are not scheduled to clash. For example, exam boards and exam resitters exam result processing. Agreement had been reached with the business side to disable access to all non-clearing or admissions related functionality from clearing day until the following Monday. Historically, for many years, we have implemented a change control period during August with a complete change freeze around the A-level results download and start of clearing. But the major incident and resulting actions have also highlighted and reinforced the continued importance of this risk-adverse approach, with exemption requests for system work coming under very close scrutiny from the Change Advisory Board during this period. This year's clearing passed off without any major technical issues or areas of concern, so from a technical perspective was considered very successful. We have recently engaged with Prolifics to assist in testing our new attendance monitoring system, which has just recently gone live. We now have a strong foundation for a positive continued working relationship in the future. The requirement for continued collaboration is being reinforced by the success of the last two clearing rounds following the major incident in 2022. The consultants have always been friendly and courteous, willing to assist, and have demonstrated a broad knowledge of load testing, as well as completing development and detailed reports in a timely fashion. As mentioned previously, they have also been very transparent in their approach and have kept us informed at each step of the process. Value for money. Given the issues we saw in 2022 and that we are now working with a single system covering the entire student life cycle, the investment in this collaboration has been well worth the effort and the money to restore user confidence in what is now generally a more robust system. With a good business relationship now established with Prolifics, we are far better placed to face future challenges. So Fuzz, if there is time allowing, I'm happy to entertain a few questions.
Yeah, there aren't any other questions at the moment, Carl. But yeah, please do ask any questions you like, and we'll set some time aside at the end as well. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity then, Carl. Just like to thank you for that. Yeah.
In that case, I'll say thank you and stop sharing my screen.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Carl. Thanks for that insight into the work that's been going on at the University of Kent. Next up, we've got Jason from the University of Portsmouth. Over to you, Jason.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen now. So just 1 second. Can I just get maybe just a couple of thumbs up from people if you can see that? First screen, enhancing student experience with Performant online systems, University of Portsmouth. Can people see that okay?
Yeah, that's showing all good, Jason.
Brilliant. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Jason Mudge. I'm the test manager here at University of Portsmouth. I've 20 plus, probably nearly 30 years industry experience as a test manager. Up in the city and in government, in defence. I joined university. Excuse me if I'm a little bit coffee, by the way. I'm just recovering from a virus, but at least you're not in the same room as me. I joined University of Portsmouth in 2023 to introduce professional software testing services to the university. So what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm going to try to give you a flavour of all of the testing that we do across the University of Portsmouth, and then I'm going to sort of bring it down and talk more specifically about performance testing and some of the performance testing that we've done with Prolifics. So just quickly for context, I just want to give you a little bit of a background as to University of Portsmouth. So we're really a large university, one of the biggest in the UK. We're circa 30,000 students, 3,500 staff. That makes us very large indeed. And we've a huge number of business systems to assure, some for our internal professional services, some for our 5 faculties, some for direct student use. Many of our systems are off the shelf. Most of them are actually highly configured. We've got some software as a service, which is really becoming a thing, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute and the testing challenges around it. And we develop a lot of systems still internally. Some of our business systems are on-prem, and increasingly we've more and more solutions in the cloud. I have a small dedicated testing team. I've got 5 test analysts and myself. So just some of the testing challenges then. So we can't possibly test everything that we want to. We're really limited in resources and finance. There have been really large investments in the university across digital, new and changing applications, infrastructure, etc. Our cyber team and cybersecurity is really a growing area, and that's having more and more of a pull on testing as well, because we've got some good test analysts, who've got expertise in that area. We now work increasingly with that team to bring our expertise to fore as well. Non-functional testing, so particularly performance testing. So it's as important as ever, with a number of key systems and events. We're very reliant on SITs. We put SITs in place, I think 6 or 7 years ago. And during confirmation and clearing, for instance, you just simply can't have broken system functionality or unexpected downtime. It could be catastrophic. So that performance testing is really really key. And the next thing I wanted to say is students' satisfaction. So more and more we're being pushed on student satisfaction, and these are key metrics and stuff are gathered around that. So there are really high expectations as to system performance. We take a lot of sort of BI, from sort of SITS data and stuff. We find ourselves doing more and more sort of usability testing and more UAT testing on these systems to make sure that they're absolutely not just functionally and non-functionally good, but a really good experience for users. So just some of the other things, we're challenged by bring your own devices. So, testing a browser and, different device support across systems is challenging for us. We've got more and more systems delivered as software as a service, typically cloud-based, off the shelf when appropriate, but still highly configured. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute and what that means to testing. We're doing more and more developments at the university via Agile. The university is becoming much more agile. We don't tend to deliver our developments waterfall so much now. We really are taking a sort of an iterative approach to solution development, and obviously testing has to change to fit that. You need to bring in things like test automation to do it well, and I'll talk about a little bit about that in a minute as well. And for a university, just to make it more difficult, the whole university is changing over from Google to Microsoft. So, development based on Azure, 365 Dynamics, Power Platform, Power Apps, and also all the Microsoft collaboration teams, tools such as Teams and OneDrive and Copilot with AI and a whole host of stuff like that. And obviously there's a bigger demand on testing as we switch from the Google world to the Microsoft world. So just a little bit about our strategy and how we ensure our systems are performant, because obviously the non-functional side is important, but it's not the only way that we assure solution quality. So just some key test strategy things. We've accepted that we can't test everything that we want to test. We've got so many projects in development that we'll spread ourselves too thinly. So we have to be really focused on concentrating the testing where there's the most bang for a buck and the absolute key systems. And I know the next line, and I know everybody says this: testing smarter, not harder. But it's something we're absolutely doing. We're trying to do less and less manual testing and more testing using tools and things like test automation with the gains that bring. We've got to start in small, building up from there, keep principle in testing. And for example, as we brought in test automation, rather than just throw it into a big project and failing, we've introduced like 4 or 5 proof of concepts, and then we built up our sort of expertise and also sort of trust of our customers. And then, we make it bigger from there. As Carl was saying, but I guess it's a sector thing, a development first attitude to solutions, also at University of Portsmouth. But we've had a number of program project issues over the years, and QA and particularly software testing has been given much more importance over the last few years as people have really understood the value that it brings. So we've done a lot of testing. We've really built up trust with our stakeholders. We showed them the value that we can bring. We take a decision not to test absolutely everything. We really do base on risk and understand that testing is not the only risk mitigation in town. So we test functionally. We do user acceptance testing. We're looking at accessibility testing. We're using test automation, and we're also doing non-functional testing, which I'll get onto a little bit more in a minute. We've got a strategy of continuing to shift left to suppliers. So where we can be sure that our suppliers of solutions are delivering stuff to a high enough QA, then we will let them do the assurance. But it's not always possible to get that assurance, and our customers are quite nervous sometimes. So we do end up, testing to ensure we get a high QA. We test across the life cycle. We include static testing and documentation. We find ourselves more and more test managing what other teams are doing, where other teams will do the test execution. So we find ourselves in a consultancy role quite often, and just doing what we can to steer the testing that other teams are doing, maybe within programs or projects or faculties. They will do the testing, and we will just say, whoa, there's kind of minimum standards here as to the way you design your test cases and the capturing of test evidence, reporting, and all of that stuff. And back to Agile again. So we've needed to adapt our testing to fit Agile. If you're really delivering development's proper real agile, then you're going round and round the buoy, and you're doing iterative development, and functionality gets bigger and bigger and bigger, per release, and then eventually you release something. If you haven't got test automation at the heart of that, then the testing becomes really difficult and really unwieldy. You find you start getting regression problems, because the effort to keep testing core functionality again and again, release by release, really does need specialist tools. And so we've really put some investment into that. So testing still important in a software as a service cloud world, where others maybe have the contractual responsibility for the solution. So we find this as well, even if we're buying a complete software as a service solution off of a supplier, we will still get nervousness from our stakeholders who want to make sure that the systems are functionally good and resilient and performant, no matter what documents they've got or promises they've been made, because these systems are so important. So even as things move to software as a service, I think we're always going to find ourselves testing, and we're particularly always going to find ourselves performance testing. I have a couple of examples on that in the next couple of slides. So here's where I just sort of bring it back to talk particularly about performance testing, about non-functional testing. And I've just got some examples here of the non-functional testing that we've done, and particularly with Prolifics, and as they've helped us. So the first one there, and it's always the first one in town, isn't it? Tribal sits ahead of confirmation and clearing. I mean, it's an absolute key business system for students, key source of students' data, interfaces to many other systems. It just has to be there, and it has to be performant during events like confirmation and clearing. When you take, I don't know, 50% of your revenue in as a university in a really short time. So absolutely, testing of that is absolutely key. So we've performance load tested this for a few years now, working with Prolifics. We've so it's typical user scenarios around clearing, online registration, module selection, what it is effectively, specialist tools using thousands of users doing typical tasks, use of Jamie to simulate user connections. So 2022, 2023, it went absolutely fine. 2024, we hit a bit of a problem with Tribal, and I'm sure we're not the only people either. We couldn't scale our internal test system up to be fully representative of live that we had done in previous years, which gave us a bit of a risk. And there were contractual and also technical reasons for that I'm not going to go into here now. But this is an occasion where you need a partnership with a sort of a trusted a test professional body, Prolifics in our case. So we lent on them really heavily there about, oh my God, what do we do to assure this? And they helped us design some testing that weren't at full scale, but they were as much as our infrastructure could do. And they were good enough, and we did those tests and also then did some sort of performance tuning and stuff afterwards. And our our confirmation and clearing went really, really well. I would have struggled without their expertise and also their knowledge of what was going on in the sector, and other people were having similar problems. Now, next year, hopefully, we'll be back to a full pre-prod system again. But it's absolutely key that you really need to develop these trusted relationships with people that really do understand performance testing and have got their fingers in the pies across multi universities, because it really does help you then have those difficult conversations with stakeholders. I wanted to say something here about Moodle. So we did some performance tests with Prolifics on Moodle, I think 2022, possibly even 2023. So scenarios of typical student use, thousands of students viewing books and PDFs and uploading videos and course quizzes and dashboards, and then the typical measuring of transaction response times, for user experience, and then looking at server and database performance, and then tweaking that. Now we've tested it again this year, but we've tested it ahead of a cloud migration. So the solution will be migrated to the cloud in 2025, and we had much nervousness from stakeholders as to system performance, robustness, etc. Once they do go to the cloud next year. So having a history there of 2022, 2023, 2024 baselined tests, where we've got an absolute good idea of how it should behave across scenarios, will be so important to us once we migrate, because we can then run some further performance tests on the new solution in the cloud, and we can look, is it at least as good as it was when we were we were running it on-prem. And again, having those sort of relationships and that sort of history of testing, non-functional testing with Prolifics has just really helped us. So just a little bit about CBIS. So another piece of non-functional testing with Prolifics. So concern from stakeholders whether, so this is a timetabling system where you can do sort of a room booking and stuff. And we had some real concern from stakeholders that this solution, so we were buying a module, Seamless Go, and that would be a cloud-based module, and so we had real concerns from our stakeholders whether this would cope at key periods, whether staff and students could use the timetabling function in still and book rooms and stuff. So again, really lent heavily on Prolifics here. So helped us sit down with the business and understand the key scenarios, and then designed testing around that of I think it was up to 4,000 user peak load, while we monitored transaction response and database performance and stuff, and it went live, and in the cloud, and it's being used, and happy stakeholders. And again, that partnership, because we just haven't got the resources. We can't be the experts in every single tool. We haven't got the budget to buy every single tool. So to be able to bring in specialists to be able to do that testing with us and know that we can trust them and stuff, has really been important to us. I just wanted to almost end anyway, just talking about a little test automation journey. I know this is this is functional testing, not non-functional, but I still just wanted to tell you a little bit about it. So we started off using Selenium WebDriver here. And we found it was too techy for us, and it was limited to web testing, and it couldn't easily test the desktop technologies and APIs and stuff we also needed. So after a tool selection a paper that I wrote, we went for OpenText UFT1, which is good old HP Micro Focus Quick Test Professional, or QTP, which is by no means a new tool. It's been around for 20 years or so, but it just gave us the best combination of record and playback, support of web and desktop technologies, expert ability to script it in VB script, and then now starting small, getting big philosophy, undertaking a number of POCs. So I mean, we've created a monster here because one of the reasons I selected it was not just to be able to use it for testing new programs and projects, but also the ability to let BAU teams use it to do their own sort of regression testing and stuff, say post patching and stuff, and the businesses, some of the businesses have really understood that and are really pressing us now. So we're going to need to ramp up our our plan, sort of slow adoption of this tool into probably something a bit quicker. But again, one of the reasons I know this is functional, not non-functional, but I wanted to call out our partnership with Prolifics during this whole process, that their expertise in test automation, their understanding of the marketplace. We're going to be leaning on them fairly soon to help us put it into CI/CD stack. Because we are doing some developments for new integration on Azure, sort of the interchanges out of systems like SITS, using a new model. And in one of the reasons we've got a test automation tool is we aim to use it programmatically. So we aim to, if we've got a development pipeline, then the tool can, have a whole load of regression or smoke tests. And every time somebody does a release down the pipeline to live, it automatically fires off tests, and you automatically get nice reports and graphs and stuff for stakeholders. Doing that ourselves, with our knowledge, yeah, it would be difficult. So again, there's a real, there's a relationship with Prolifics here, and we'll be leaning on them heavily to help us actually implement that sometime in the next couple of months. So just quick sum up really. So University of Portsmouth, so we are high quality assurance in a changing digital landscape. We take a holistic view to testing. We don't test everything. So we test functionality of advanced requirements. User experience, as we said, is just growing all the time in importance. The user acceptance, usability testing, really important. High availability of key systems under load. So performance test is absolutely key to us for our core systems, and it will continue to be, I think, even as solutions are delivered, software as a service, because our stakeholders are asking us for that. So yeah, we're doing more and more test automation, including, as I said, for BAU use, just so that people can quickly patch systems and stuff and know that they haven't killed them. We're working more and more flexibly. We're using less and less sort of static test management tools, and we're working more and more agile, more and more working with projects on Kanban boards, designing testing that's iterative, in nature, really trying to get away from this testing at the end, this old-fashioned waterfall view of the world. And yeah, just the last point to end there, having a it's just my advice, having a trusted testing partner that can do the things that you can't do and has got the level of expertise and the tools and stuff that you can kind of wheel in at key times to do, for instance, your performance testing. Yeah, I'd do it. I would absolutely do it. And we have, and we built a really good relationship with Prolifics, and it's really it's really good. And the only other, just one point I want to end on before I'm going. So I'm always interested in chatting to other test managers in the sector. I really would be interested in your challenges, how you do things, the things that matter to you. If anybody wants to reach out to me at any stage and, maybe grab a coffee, even if it's a, virtual coffee, I'm really looking to build those kind of relationships and things. So please do, don't be a stranger. Please do, come and talk to me. And that's it. Thank you. I will stop sharing now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Jason. We've actually got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
So, yeah, absolutely. So first one, I was curious about what processes and systems you use for accessibility testing.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. So yeah, for the detail of that, I would say just reach out to me. So we are looking. We do have tools, and we are. The first thing we did, the absolutely first thing we did, is we went out and we looked at what accessibility testing meant and all the different standards and stuff, because I'd done similar in the sort of home office and stuff in the past. And we do have tools that we actually run, and we do have other companies that we work with as well that run tools and stuff for us on some of our systems. But yeah, without going into too many details, I think that's one where you probably just ping me a little note, and then I'll we can have a a chat, a session. But yeah.
Perfect. And a second question, how do you ensure other teams who are doing testing test to the required standards? Do you have a framework?
Yes, we do. So we have a very sort of simple, drilled down set of best practices. So we, on a page, so we have a set of testing best practices on a page, rather than I don't know, my test strategy document is 57 pages or whatever. But what we did is we boiled that down into a really simple guide that we give to programs and projects, where they're map tests to requirements, designed tests, I could use Excel, whatever you need, what is the expected result, before you test, you absolutely need to decide what the accepted result is. Otherwise, what are you testing against? Are you capturing, test evidence, where are you keeping these test records after you tested, because at some stage we might get audited on it. Here are some testing techniques that you can use, boundary value analysis and all the rest of it. So we have a simple set of guidelines and stuff, and that's the way we approach it. We don't try to turn them into professional testers or test managers. We just try to assure that they at least do the basics of what's recognized as good QA.
Right. And just got a comment from Jamie from UCLan. Apparently, pretty much same story there in terms of their journey for testing as well. So might be a good connect afterwards.
Oh yeah, please do. Yeah. No, that's really interesting to hear. Thank you. Because you wonder sometimes as a test manager, you get quite isolated or whatever, and you're doing things a certain way, and it is so really interesting to hear from others in similar roles of how they approach things. And I'd welcome that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for that session. We've only got a few minutes left, so it's going to be short, but we've got Pradeep up next, just to talk you through some useful tips on how you can make performance testing successful at your university. Pradeep, over to you.
Yeah, just thanks, Faz. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Carl, for talking us through about all the performance testing experience you had with us so far. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. I've got some slides to share with, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet and simple to cut to chase so that we are all on time. Let me know once you all see my screen, and then I'll take you all through my slides.
Yeah, we can see it, Pradeep.
Brilliant. That's good. Just a quick intro of myself. I'm the Senior Performance Test and Engineering Manager at Prolifix Testing. I do play a lot of roles, like as Faz said, performance architect. We do architect and deliver a lot of performance test projects from our side. Been with Prolifix for more than 10 years now, but working on HE sectors for almost close to 6-7 years. We've undertaken performance test projects for 30 plus clients, not only in the UK, I think globally, as Faz mentioned. There were some universities we have worked with within Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, and a few other South Asian countries. That's me. This is a bit of a crowded slide, but what I'm trying to say here is, from the performance delivery point, there are a few tips which is good to have on hand from the performance test side of things on the project. So I would say some of them would be some of the real life conditions. How do we simulate real life conditions? What test environments we are testing on? Whether we are doing on-prem cloud, the number of users, types of transactions. Two things to mainly look into. It's not only always the number of users. It could always be the number of transactions. There is no direct mapping between a user and a transaction, so it's good to have both when considering for performance testing. Plus the volumes of transactions, anything which is very specific to APIs based on the integrations with an external tool or an external software. And performance testing is not a straightforward task like functional, where we would need like 10-15 different types of account, different roles, but it requires a lot of data. This is one of the key part which we will be talking to universities a lot when we start with performance test engagement. It is real looking data rather than the test data itself. I think so far we have tested for almost like 20K records, 20K users for some of the universities. We always try to use an open source tool to keep the cost low, to make sure that the project budget and things would fit in within the window. Plus, on top of our open source tool, we have built, because JMeter looks into a lot of data, so we have built an integration with Grafana, which will actually simplify looking into the data, which actually gives us a view of live monitoring, which our clients like Kent and Portsmouth have already used and benefited by seeing the dashboards while we are testing the systems. Some of the tool, it's good to have one of your unit team to have some knowledge on the tool, because of some regression runs, which the universities would actually benefit from taking the handover of our pack and then running the regression tests, which we have handed over to some of the universities where they are benefiting from our pack to do their performance test regressions on their smaller release. Obviously, for major releases, they would come and talk to us for a performance test service, or for some of the regressions, they would actually go and do it. Yeah, I think as Faz mentions, start off thinking simple on performance testing, but I think whatever experience we have learned, probably we can leverage, you all can leverage from our side. So we are UK based. We have got an UK core performance test team, and the load generating hardware across the globe, which we could use for load generating rather than requesting universities to set up the massive volume of hardware. I'll cut to chase. Yeah, performance testing needs. Please talk to us if there are any questions. Please post, and then I'll be more than happy to answer.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Pradeep,
Yes.
for fitting that into that short time. So just to everyone, thank you for joining our webinar today. I really hope you found it useful and informative. And if you have any questions, just stick them into the chat box. We'll go through it at any points and make sure we get back to you with answers. So thank you and goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vaz.
Oh, Sasha, did you have a question?
No, sorry, I did not. I just wanted to like everything and say thank you very much for this session, Vaz.
Brilliant. No worries. Take care. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.